Howdy, folks. It's Michael with the CCERP podcast. Hope you're doing all right. Getting outside, surviving this 2021 COVID nonsense. Get outside, get exercise, learn more about health and human nature, human ecology, what we need to survive and thrive, live well, be a good human animal. So today we're going to talk about natural movement, fitness, the outdoors. We're going to be doing some episodes with some good folks from my cohort at the MovNat Level III Certification, New Mexico, beginning of September 2021. And this is episode 1 about that. But we'll be talking about all these things, the outdoors, movement, MovNat. But some people couldn't make it today because of last minute scheduling changes, but Nick and I are sticking to it. So, Nick, could you introduce yourself to folks and tell us about your background and the outdoors and MovNat?
Yes, thanks, Mike, for having me on. My name is Nick Burroughs. I am from Virginia originally, the southwest part actually, and I'm a physical therapist by profession. Been doing that about 20 years. Been involved in all sorts of things in my life. The Peace Corps volunteer in Madagascar, and I've always loved the outdoors. Grew up outside, pretty much playing, a lot of camping in high school, college, and when I discovered MovNat in 2019, I heard Erwan LaCour on a podcast, and it really intrigued my interest. I bought his book, and I devoured it, and it was read in 2 weeks, and I totally changed my outlook on life and what I guess my approach to life. I guess you can say it was a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
Got involved in MovNat and haven't looked back, really.
Sweet. Excuse me. So, did you get your L1 and L2 Level 1 certification and Level 2 certification like the same weekend somewhere?
Yeah, so I started training MovNat, I believe it's March 2019, and I just, from Erwan's book and then watching all the YouTube videos, getting outdoors, learning ground movements, learning the basic crawling, climbing, running, jumping, throwing, lifting techniques. And I just kept doing it and doing it. Actually hired a MovNat coach,
Cool.
an MCT level 2 initially. We had a couple sessions together. He was located about an hour from me. And I honestly just kept falling in love with it and getting better at different movements. And I decided to pursue a certification, not only for my personal gratification, but in my profession. I really saw how natural movement could be utilized in the rehabilitation world to help people overcome debility and other injuries, illnesses, etc. So I did my Level 1 and Level 2 MovNat certification in Asheville, Virginia, about a year ago, actually, last October, October 2020. It was postponed twice. It was originally scheduled for March of 2020, but COVID and all the regulations behind that pushed it back. And I went down to Asheville, spent 5 days in the certification, and loved every minute of it. It was actually a certification that was completely outdoors.
Cool.
All 5 days. We had I guess you can say a big shelter there that if we needed. And Seth Budai and Nate Amato ran it. So that's where I first met Nate. And it was great. I learned, it was good to be around people who wanted to learn and thrive with natural movement. So I met some people, and we had a great time.
Nice. And then, what made you want to go to L3 and not just stop at L2?
Well, honestly, I wanted to push myself. I just figured that I'm getting older, and I wanted to see if I was able to I guess, take myself to the next level of the movement world. And I also watched one of the YouTube videos that they MovNat put out, and I loved it. I was like, I belong there. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Some people might think you're crazy, and actually a lot of my friends still do. But I beg to differ. I saw the video, and I saw myself there doing what they were doing. I wanted to see if I was capable of handling the movement competency at that level.
Yeah.
So it gave me something to train for too, almost a goal to achieve. So when I decided to go for it, I signed up and actually put my deposit down about last November. So I knew that for 9 months I wanted to train for it and see what I was made of. I just turned 45 this past summer.
Wow.
But I consider myself in the best shape of my life, to be honest with you, thanks to a natural movement.
Yeah, true. Agreed. With the system in MovNat, this educational system of fitness, allows you to do more than, well, it's so logically put together. All the progressions and regressions, the way everything, all human fitness, activities, movement is connected, benefits everybody, no matter what level. Helps you progress in ways that you didn't know possible.
I totally agree with that statement. It's MovNat is wonderful. It's a great physical education system because it can be applied to every population of people. You know, I was with a guy at the L1 certification who was 80 years old, and he passed. Yeah, he was able to do. It was unbelievable just seeing him move. He actually did some forward rolls with me.
Wow, sweet.
Yeah, and I've never seen anybody that age do something. So it just, it's just I mean, I sat back and I originally thought he was about 63 years old.
Huh, cool.
And somebody told me, he's like, yeah, Dave is 80.
Wow.
My jaw dropped.
Nice.
This is right after we're doing some foot hand crawls and some forward rolls. Because I'd never seen anybody that age be so mobile and agile. And it's honestly just a testament to natural movement and the MovNat system. He'd been training MovNat, if I understand it correctly, with Seth, one of the master MovNat trainers, for a year or two, and decided to get certified because he was doing so well. Yeah, it was jaw dropping, and I'm still kind of in awe of what I saw that weekend.
I bet. Did he try for level 2 also?
Not that weekend. No.
Cool. Do you think he's got it in him to get it though?
I'm not. Perhaps.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I didn't see any level 2 skills.
I
didn't see him performing in level 2 skills.
Yeah, weren't able to assess. Yeah, cool. But what was his background? What did he do when he was younger? Do you know?
I didn't talk to him that much.
Yeah.
I do think he did have a story on the MovNat website under their journal.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wrote about him.
I think I've seen some stuff about him.
I want to say he was in. I want to say he was in the Air Force, the military, years ago, and
because I don't know how many.
It's fascinating, and honestly.
What? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Honestly, something Air Force background.
Yeah, well, if he could do it, I think if you apply the MovNat principles to any person of any health status, ability status, any age, I really think most people could achieve an L1 type of movement capability. Give it some time and practice, and the system's so sequential that anything's possible.
And then we need to look at the bigger picture and not just what we see around us in this particular culture, this here and now. To understand what it is to be human, we need to look at other cultures around the world and study history. In little small towns, people misunderstand what it is to be human. Then you get some bigotry and stuff like that because of the small sample they have. Everyone's kind of talking the same and wearing the same thing and eating the same. But, little classic, stereotypical small town. But same thing here. We need to look at the big picture and grasp that we can do a lot more than we think looking around us because, every one of us, our ancestors survived and thrived. If they were pathetic and incapable, humans would never have lasted and we would have died off. We have this heritage of strong, capable ancestors. It's inside us all. We're wired that way. It's just a matter of realizing it.
I couldn't have said that any better, Mike. It's crazy because in 2001, right after 9/11, I joined the U.S. Peace Corps and I was sent to Madagascar.
Cool.
So I have actually lived in a third world country where people have to move a lot just to survive and live. I'm not saying, they're primitive people. I'm just saying in third world countries, you don't have the amenities and the comfort that we enjoy in the West, especially in this country and, a couple other places. So I saw people move a lot. We had to walk a mile to the market.
Cool.
Daily ration of food or something, or you had to walk 500 yards to carry 2 buckets back to your bungalow so you have water for the day. So I got to experience a lot of movement over there, and I saw how people lived, and they were definitely strong and capable. So I do agree that most people, and I guess I can say this, at least in the West, aren't tapped into their movement potential. Yeah. And I think I realized that when I did start MovNat training, because I hadn't been doing anything like that, my whole life. I was an athlete as a kid or in high school, and afterwards, I'd do the typical gym routine, the 3 sets of 10 back buys type of stuff in the gym with the machines. And then I'd, let myself go for a while, gained a lot of weight, just rediscovered my health. And when I was 38 years old in 2012, gave up a lot of bad habits and got back to exercise and being active. And I joined a CrossFit gym. And I started making that journey, but not until I found MovNat and natural movement did I really discover my full potential. And I still think I have a lot to gain, as indicative by my performance at the L3 certification.
Yeah. Everybody. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, just like any cohort in a military unit, any SWAT team, any SEAL team. Same thing kind of with what we were doing, which was, I'd say is probably comparable training too. I've seen videos of what people have to do to qualify for SWAT, and I think a lot of it's just MovNat Level I certification stuff. Some may be right. Level 2, but balancing and swinging and going on monkey bars and stuff, it's a lot of just basic, simple Level 1 stuff. But so some of the stuff we're doing for Level 3 is way above that, and I don't see in some of the military videos, people being required to do that.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm not too familiar with different military unit training, but I could definitely see how learning the MovNat system and becoming competent in it would help you out
Yeah.
in any military. In fact, military should train MovNat.
Amen. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, get out of the gym and get in nature, because wars are fought outside.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not anymore, but
Yeah, in some ways, but
yeah.
whether suburban or rural or in the wilderness, in managed nature, that's still where they got to go. People need to be prepared for it, and being in a gym doesn't. Just like as you know, if people want otherwise, then try doing one thing we had to do. It's required for a level 3 MovNat certification to run 3 miles barefoot on rocky surface. It's like, what military unit does that?
Yeah. Well, that's very true. Yeah.
Put on your shoes. Let's go, guys. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Take them shoes off. Take them puppies off, boys. Let's go. Or yeah, when you're talking about that last day when we were 3.5 hours in a canyon, the L3 thing, guys were barefoot and shirtless.
Yep. And it was a very intense experience. Honestly, looking back at it, if I didn't think I was capable of the things we did that Sunday morning, but we did them.
Yeah,
we did them. We were all together as a group, a tribe, being pushed by some great coaches, and it was pretty phenomenal. Just like what came out of us that day.
Yeah.
As far as our physical prowess, our physical capability, our resilience, our strength, our motivation. We all had each other's backs, and we wanted to get it done, and we did. It was great. And then the best part, when we were done, just the exhilaration of what we experienced together was even better. I mean, we were all on a cloud 9. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, in that environment too.
Yeah.
In the wild, beautiful, beautiful blue sky, beautiful trees, beautiful rocks. It's rugged. It's not like being in some confined environment where you're suffocating indoors.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was. I can't put it in words. As far as how it made you feel after you were done. During our the arduous task we did. Yeah, it was painful. It was exhausting. It was strenuous. All those adjectives. But once we're done and realized what we had completed, it was like, wow, man, how did we get through that? And how none of us quit. We all stayed together as a group, and we got it done.
Yeah. And if you're not ready, I know if you're not certified level 2, you're not done with the skills down, you're not conditioned, then yeah, like someone's going to have to carry you out of the canyon. You're not going to be able to handle it. Ain't going to be able to hack it. I know some people can go hard in the gym wearing gloves where it's all soft, and they can be strong in some ways. They can pump a bunch of weight, deadlift and squat that we couldn't. Maybe like do some clean and jerks, heavy weight, a lot of power, stuff we couldn't. But get them outdoors, barefoot, shirtless, doing all this stuff. They're going to be too tender. They ain't going to be able to function.
Yeah, it's. I guess you could talk about true capability. What we did that Sunday.
Let me say one
thing
3.5
hours
really
in
quickly,
the canyon.
So people don't misunderstand. It's not like some of these 20-year-olds who got younger mitochondria and more mitochondrial density than we do. They can like pump all that weight. it's more the cultural issue. It's not like I'm calling them weak. I'm just saying they're conditioned that way because of the culture in their background.
Yeah.
I would prefer they be strong, capable athletes. I would like to help them be that. I know you would too, and other MovNat people. Help condition them to be able to do these barefoot runs and, faster and harder than I could, do all this stuff. So they'd start when they're young instead of like later on in life as we did, and they'd be able to perform in athletics better, have fewer injuries, recover better if they do, be more competent all around, be able to take their fitness through their whole life instead of just get broken down in some sports or give up later. They'd know a lot that they can do to keep it fun and stay active, have a long fitness life instead of a short one. I'd prefer that, but the way it is with our culture, that's all I'm saying. They're soft. They could change.
Well,
I did. You did.
Yeah.
It's not like I've always been this way, but I just wanted to have that, put that context in there for what I'm saying. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I guess, what you could look at it, there's a big difference in being able to deadlift 400 pounds, 5 for 5 reps in a climate controlled gym with shoes on than going out into a New Mexico canyon and doing a foot hand crawl with a 200-pound person on your back up a 60-degree elevated hill on rocks.
Barefoot. That's slipping part of the way.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense experience, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I can probably go ahead and say that doing the foot hand crawl up a rocky hill that's about 6 degrees elevation for about 30 feet with a 200-pound person on your back is a little bit more resilience building type of activity.
Yeah. And mindfulness is involved. You got to watch where you're going.
Yes. Absolutely,
otherwise, you're going to slip. You're going to run into a rock. You'll end up going the wrong way. You won't go where the target you're supposed to go at.
Yeah. And that brings into brings into play another MovNat principle, which is complexity, environmental complexity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the stimulus from the environment and the complexity that you can encounter in the environment in a gym typically. I'm talking about a gym that's the typical TVs on the wall, the treadmills, the rack in the corner, everything's level. It's just different. Your body responds differently.
Yeah. And we need some of that stuff. Support local business, do that. It's something you can focus on, but it should be part of a broader fitness practice. You got that very narrow stuff you can do when you're only going to the gym. You're very limited. You're like, as Katie Bowman would say, putting yourself in a cast.
Or I think Erwan LaCour said it, you're a zoo human.
Yeah. Do that stuff, go to the gym, but it needs to be to strengthen some of the functions you're learning by being in the broader world, whether urban or natural. We move as humans in both cases. I think it's interesting how some people see some of the videos I do and they're outdoors and then they say, well, they don't get that it's the same thing indoors. It's like, I'm doing it outdoors, but it could also be done indoors. It's the same thing. Why would someone going to go outdoors when it's hot? It's the same thing indoors. Human movement is human movement. So it's a good thing people who do MovNat have kind of both help to some extent, at least for some people, until they see that, help them not make that mistake thinking about MovNat. But yeah, in a urban, rural setting, human-built environments, we still got to do the same things. Lift stuff, get over obstacles. You're driving your car, it breaks down, you get an accident, you need to be prepared for it. Sometimes you don't want to stay on the highway with your car. You want to get over a barrier. How are you going to get over the barrier? That involves tripods, vaults, things like that, landing.
You become a master of your environment if you are trained in MovNat.
Yeah.
You develop confidence to tackle any task that's put in front of you, whether it be carrying something over something, crawling under something, balancing on something that most people might fall off of. Name any physical task that could be difficult. Carrying your furniture out of your house, carrying your garbage can down to the bottom of the hill, crawling underneath your truck to pick up your son's ball. Any task that involves you doing something physically, if you're properly trained to MovNat, those tasks become very, very easy or much easier.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get, before I trained MovNat and before I, actually became physically capable in most aspects of natural movement, I used to get fatigued, weed eating my grass and cutting my grass.
Huh.
I wouldn't say out of breath. I just had to go lay down for a half hour. And now I cut my grass and it's like my body's just getting warmed up. I don't feel any fatigue at all. When you weed eat for 30 minutes, your shoulder might get tired, your wrist might get tired, or you're pushing your mower or you're bending over, weed eating on a hill, your back gets a little fatigued. Nowadays, I don't have any fatigue whatsoever.
And even with
crazy, and I'm older.
Yeah, even with CrossFit, you were still like getting tired and stuff.
Yes, because CrossFit doesn't train you in all planes of motion. Typically, it's more of a frontal plane motion type of. Everything is forward and backward. There's not a lot of lateral bend. Not a lot of different body positions you have to master.
Crawling.
I was definitely in a lot more better shape when I did CrossFit, and I got pretty strong, but I was only strong for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And MovNat has filled the gap in and made everything complete.
Interesting.
It's hard to explain unless you've actually done both. I did CrossFit for 4 years before I honestly quit it because I just got burnt out on it, because it was more about how tired and how exhausted you could be on the floor after each work. At least my experience. I'm not saying in general.
Yeah.
But it was more about how many reps and how fast I get something done, which usually left me on the floor, sucking wind and sweating profusely. My body just got sick of that. And honestly, I think my health started to suffer because I was getting sick with a cold twice a year for the last 2 years. I did CrossFit.
Wow. Interesting.
And I stopped making gains and I just gave it up. And I was, and then for 8 months, I just kind of exercised on my own and just tried to figure out how to keep my body in the best shape. And then that's when I heard Erwin LaCour on a podcast, and I read his book, and it totally reinvigorated my love for movement and fitness, especially, with MovNat's emphasis on the natural environment, getting in the natural environment, stimulating your body in a natural environment. And once you start doing that, you notice the benefits pretty much right away. And that's why I love it. It's crazy. I can't speak more highly of it.
Yeah, as some people point out, if you train indoors, you can do some stuff, but you can't move it to the outdoors and do the same thing where the environment is more complex and rugged. People have soft hands, so they can't hold onto a branch very long and hang, or have something on their bare shoulder that's really soft. But if you train outdoors, then it's easy to transfer it inside. There's more transferability to the different skills because it's much more complex. You're building up everything. You're bringing into play some of the parts of a movement chain that are ignored or softened inside. Like, as Katie Bowman and others point out, one big important thing is skin strength. people can't hang because they have weak skin and they don't even realize that's
Yeah.
something part of the whole kinetic chain and something that can be
Yeah.
conditioned and strengthened and worked.
I think they used to call them calluses. But yeah,
Yeah.
skin strength. I like that terminology better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very true. Like I said, just getting out in nature and experiencing the stimulus that nature can give you does strengthen. It strengthens your skin. It makes you more resilient. For me, when I started doing MovNat training, it's hard for me to explain this, but I felt as if my ligaments, my tendons, my fascia, which is, the fascia has been noted to be the biggest organ in your body, which is connective tissue. It seems like all of that got really strong.
Interesting.
I have
Yeah.
not had any injuries,
Sweet.
except for a little bit of bicipital tendonitis last year from trying to practice power-ups too many times.
Yeah.
But that, I rested and it went away.
Cool.
But I have not had any injuries since starting MovNat. Even L3, all the crazy movements we did and the positions we put ourselves in, I was fine. I mean, my skin was, I had some, cuts and bruises, but it wasn't like a significant musculoskeletal injury.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I was getting, before I discover MovNat and decide to, make my transition to minimal footwear, train barefoot, et cetera, I was getting plantar fasciitis twice a year from running. Because I try to go for a good run one day a week.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yesterday I went for a 3 mile.
Cool.
I still do that, but 3 or 4 years ago when I was doing that, despite having these crazy, Nike footwear, whatever all the
Modern
crap that
science.
the corporations put out. Yeah. I was getting major plantar fasciitis and I couldn't run for 2 or 3 weeks. I'd let it heal, and then I'd slowly get back into running. And then by the time I'd start running good mileage again, it acted back up. But my transition into the barefoot minimalist lifestyle, which I still adhere to today, even more so since I've come back from L3, because I realized my feet weren't as strong as they should be. We won't talk about that though. I have had zero episodes of plantar fasciitis, and I'm probably more active in my feet than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I just think that the barefoot contact with the earth, it really makes your connective tissue, your fascia, your supportive structures in your feet much stronger.
Yeah, your feet get to be feet. Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore more resilient to take on any stress that you might place yourself in that might cause a plantar fasciitis type of syndrome.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that from other people too. Going barefoot, their plantar fasciitis goes away.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now when I have a foot patient in my professional life as a physical therapist, one of the first things I tell them to do is walk outside in the grass barefoot.
Good.
Don't step on any pricker plants or sharp rocks until your feet are ready, but get out there and just get your feet in contact with the ground and just walk. Just walk around and do 5, 10, 15, work your way up. Now, I will say this, making the transition to the barefoot minimalist lifestyle, it took some time because once I took my shoes off, those Nikes or whatever I was wearing, I did have some calf cramping and a lot of calf soreness. I wouldn't call it an injury. It was just like my muscles had to adjust. It took me about 3 months to really make that transition. So, and I think MovNat talks about that too. Is make that transition slowly.
Yeah.
Don't if you have never been for a barefoot run, don't just take your feet off and run on the road for 3 miles. Don't take your shoes off, and run on the road for 3 miles. It's not going to work out pretty good. You're going to hurt.
Yeah.
But make the transition slowly.
And friends of MovNat, friends of each other, talk about that too. Katie Bowman, FMS people probably say that. Kelly Starrett. Kelly noticed that too. I think in one thing he said, he used to not be able to run very far, have problems. Then he changed the way he ran, learned how to do it right, I think. I don't know if he did minimalist shoes or barefoot, but learning good biomechanics and getting things dialed in, he was able to go farther. And I think he's even done like a 50-mile run,
Wow.
if I recall. But yeah.
Do you
Now
think
he
you can do
likes.
that in gravel?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
rocky trail?
Yeah. I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it helped. Let's see. We need to let you go pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm in my driveway and got some hungry kids I got to go get some supper cooked for. So,
Sweet.
but yeah, you can ask me. We can do one more question and wrap it up.
Cool. So, what do you have to say for folks at the end about whatever you want to address about natural movement, MovNat, being in the outdoors, L3, whatever? We got more podcast episodes coming, but for now, on this episode, like, what do you want to say for folks? What do you think
Well,
people out there should hear?
my suggestion is, especially in the Western world, United States of America, which we both live in, being a physical therapist and seeing the results of a poor lifestyle when people get in their elderly years, 60, 70, 80s, even some in their 50s, where, multiple medical conditions occur, develop, obesity. Obviously, we know that's a huge problem in our country. My suggestion to everybody who hears this is to take care of yourself physically. Make it one of your number one priorities. Take care of yourself physically. And I'm totally convinced at this point in my career that one of the best ways to do that is to develop a natural movement practice. And MovNat has the best system for that. So check it out. You can start anywhere. There's tons of resources. Get yourself in a natural movement practice. It takes about 3 months to really notice a big difference. Once you do, you want to keep it up because it makes you feel so much better, makes you so much healthier. And the biggest thing is it makes you live into your elderly years healthy, vibrant, capable. So you won't spend your days in a nursing home or in and out of the hospital or in and out of a rehab center struggling with physical debility and other problems. That's my biggest message for people who hear this, especially if you're suffering with health problems now.
Yeah.
My goal is to be doing like Dave, forward rolls, foot hand crawls.
Amen. Yeah.
Pull-ups, swing-ups when I'm 80 years old.
Amen. Yeah, that'd
maybe
be sweet.
maybe some forward power jumps, 8.5 feet or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Carry
it's a
200.
great MovNat is a great system, and there's a lot of resources. By the Practice of Natural Movement by Erwan LaCour. It's very informative. And I do want to address the L3 cert because I think we talked about that prior to recording.
Mm-hmm.
How do I compare the L1, L2, L3? Okay, I thought about this.
Cool.
So L1 is like getting on a junior varsity team of whatever sport. Even like not necessarily a sport, but kind of like the junior varsity squad of something, like maybe the band or the cheerleading crew or the golf team. L2 is equivalent to making the varsity team, getting competent enough to do the varsity. And so you're a little bit better and you get more confidence. But when you get to the L3 level in MovNat, that's like making the jump to a professional, high-level professional league. And it's a big jump, big difference between L2 and L3.
Yeah.
And I think it's well worth it. It's definitely very challenging, and I'm still practicing all the tests I did not pass while I was there, and hopefully next couple of years I'll have most of them down.
And so,
but
folks,
it's a much bigger jump from L2 to L3 than it is from L1 to L2.
And so folks can know, like Collin, I think the way he described it, what L2 is twice as hard as L1. I don't remember exactly what he said. L3 is at least 4 times as hard as L2 or something like that. Way harder.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger jump between 2 and 3 than 1 and 2.
A much bigger jump. I totally agree.
And so people can know also, like,
but it's doable if you work at it and you commit yourself to a natural movement practice and you push yourself and you do it in a safe way. We're not going to get hurt, which is totally, capable, totally doable. People can do it. It's just, do you want it? Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it, and I still want to do it.
Amen.
In fact, I'm more motivated now. Coming home from L3 is like, you know what? I didn't prepare myself correctly. I should have done this, and this.
Hey, Bruce Lee had to learn that too.
Huh?
Bruce Lee had to learn that too. Not for MovNat, of course, but just in a fight he had one time.
Wow.
He won, but he was disappointed in himself. He was angered for a long time. His wife was trying to console him, but he's like, yeah, I won, but I didn't win fast enough. It shouldn't have been like that. I shouldn't have lasted so long. He was just, deep down disappointed in himself.
Wow. Yeah, one of my mentors growing up, one of my high school coaches had the best quote that I still remember to this day. And it's one of those motivational quotes. There's so many out there, but I like this one. Before you have a comeback, you have to have a setback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And things in life don't come easy in all aspects. Mm-hmm. But the true person, the true testament of character is how you respond to adversity or failure.
Amen. True.
And I definitely failed a lot at the L3, and nobody we were there with passed every test. So
yeah, and that's another thing that shows how hard it is. I was going to say, 2018, nobody passed at the event. 2019, 20% passed. It didn't happen in 2020 because of COVID. 2021, our year, nobody passed at the event. And we're not talking like, so everyone has to have gone through L2. You can't just jump into L3 out of nowhere. So we're not talking about unprepared, weak people. And people who have gone have been like black belts in martial arts. You have people who've gone like beyond college wrestling who've gone to this thing. And I've heard the same thing on different levels from some of them. Oh yeah, like Navy SEALs, Special Forces people. They don't always pass the first, like at the event. But even some people failing level 1, like some people who are MovNat trainers, I hear them saying that's like one of the best things that happened to them. They didn't pass, and as you say, it kind of separates the children from the adults, and who's going to step up and go after it, and who's not. Makes a difference. Failing and then sticking with it and passing.
Yep. I actually failed my L1 balance test the first time I took it, and my L2 balance test the first time I took it.
Wow.
But I worked at it and got better. Actually, I passed the L1 the same weekend.
Sweet.
And the L2, I just went home 3 days later and practiced a little more and passed it. So. Yeah,
I had to do one thing after L1. Hit the video, if I recall, just one thing, maybe two. I'm pretty sure it was one. Pretty sure. So yeah, I failed level 1. Had to do one thing. Level 2, I passed. Then of course level 3, I got 5 more tests. I got to try to conquer and knock out.
All right, Mike. Hey, good talking with you, buddy.
Awesome.
I miss everybody from our group in Santa Fe and Glorieta camps. It was such an amazing experience. Something I'll never forget. And thank you for including me on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Heck yeah, I look forward to. Rock wasn't able to come today, folks, because one person in our cohort, because he had a last minute change. But yeah, we'll do more of these, and there'll be other people getting together.
The best part of the L3 experience was Rock Hancock in the gauntlet. That guy was a man on a mission. Nothing was stopping him.
Man, so was Zack.
Do you remember that?
I saw a video of Zack going through. It's like, damn, he was a damn tank. No one could stop him.
Yeah, but what a great. That was just a fun little thing we did.
Yeah, that was fun. But cool. Yeah. All right. So thanks for joining in this first on all this, like with the L3 cohort. But Appreciate it. And wait, one thing. So, how long you been doing physical therapy so people know about, have a little more background and context for your recommendations to do MovNat?
2001. So I've definitely a veteran in the field, about 20 years now, and I've been doing MovNat since, I guess I'm over two and a half years now, since 2019.
Yeah,
March 2019. So definitely still consider myself an amateur in the MovNat methodology, but I'm getting better every week. I work at it. I consult with people, and
Sweet.
I've got some work to do for these L3 tests to get my certification, which I'm working on every week.
Amen. Yeah, me too. But
yeah,
just so folks know, you've been working 20 years in physical therapy and seen lots of folks, have studied, read, observed.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about MovNat and these other things, there's a heck of a lot of context behind it, background knowledge,
yes,
all that.
Yeah. Movement is medicine for your body.
Cool.
Probably the number one medicine you can do for yourself, and MovNat is a great methodology to do that.
Amen. All right, cool. So go have dinner. Go be with your family.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate your time.
We'll talk to you soon, Mike. Take care of yourself, man.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye.